Welcome back to Illustrator for scientific visualization. In the last chapter, we fixed up the final graphs. And since then, I've also added in the data that we were missing. So we now have numbers for water volume and for shoreline. You'll also notice in our layers window, my OCD finally got the best of me, and I cleaned up everything that we had. So we have the guides on the top, our template, which is our main artboard over here, and each of these graphs now have their own individual layers. And underneath each layer, we also have a text sublayer, a label sublayer, as well as a layer for all the different shapes of our graph. In this chapter, we're going to finally take a stab at the graphic in this main area. And to do that, we're going to have to create custom shapes. So let's take a look at the pen tool. You can find it in the left toolbar over here, or by hitting P. I'm going to create a new layer, and I'm going to rename this Lake Shapes. Now with the pen tool, we can create pretty much any type of shape we want. The most simplest shape is to lay down anchor points and to join them up, and now we have a polygon with a fill and with a stroke. And it's just like any other shape we've created so far. So whether that's with the rectangle tool, which is M, the oval tool, which is L, or even our line tools. Everything in Illustrator, as I've mentioned before, is simply a series of control points as well as paths that join them up. Now, to create these lakes, however, we obviously need to create more than just straight lines. We need to create some curved edges. So with our pen tool, let's hit P to access it. What we can do is we can click and drag out handles. And these handles are going to act as the guides or the tangents for our path. So suppose I drag out to the right. What's going to happen is the handle is going to tell our curve to follow that tangent to the right. So notice now, as I move my mouse around, a sample curve is appearing. When I place down a new anchor point, the curve runs out from our original anchor point along this tangent to reach this new point. Let's try that again. I'm going to drag out a long handle, and I'm going to place a new anchor point and drag out some new handles. Again, as you can see, we have a curve following this outward handle and following this inward handle into our last anchor point. So with this pen tool, we can create some really smooth lines. Now, let's delete all this and let's try and create a circle. So I'm going to use this grid as a template. I'm going to place an anchor at this intersection, and I'm going to hold the Shift key to make sure that my handles snap to 45-degree angles. I'm going to bring it approximately halfway along this section, and I'm going to create another anchor point down at this intersection with handles, again, reaching halfway below the square. Place another point, hold the Shift key to make sure it snaps, drag out, another key, drag out, and another key. So it's not quite perfect, but with this pen tool, we can create essentially anything we want. Now, if I want to change the position of our anchor points, all I need to do is select the Direct Selection tool, select our point, and move it out. So now we have a bit of an egg shape. Now, suppose we want to create a teardrop. Well, what we could do is with our Direct Selection tool, we can select the ends of our handles and drag them out as well. Right now it's a little wobbly, so let's hit the Shift key to make sure it's moving along a straight line. Select this one as well, pull out. For our top one, we want this to be a corner. So I'm going to hit Shift C. This is going to reveal this inflected arrow icon, and that's hidden under our pen tool as the anchor point tool. I'm going to click on our control point just once, and that will reset those handles. So because there are no handles on this control point, our path drives directly into that point without any curvatures. For these guys, I'm going to click, and I'm going to drag out new handles. So click without releasing, and drag out new handles. Notice that the outward handle is going clockwise, and that's determined based on how we created our path. Remember, we started up here, and we created our second one, third, and fourth control points. If we want to create an extra anchor point in our existing path, we can hit the plus key. Again, the shortcut is selecting this Add Anchor Point tool. I'm going to place an anchor point along this path, and notice the handle over here readjusted to accommodate this new point. I'm going to hit A to select this new point and move it down just a bit. I'm going to take this guy, and I'm also going to move it down, and I'm going to readjust the curvature as well. Now, suppose we want to get rid of this anchor point altogether. Well, the opposite of plus is minus, so let's hit the minus button. If you want, the Delete Anchor Point tool is also hidden under the same menu. I'm going to hover over my anchor point, and I'm going to delete. Notice that the handles for the adjacent anchor points have yet again readjusted to accommodate the change in this curve. So this isn't looking too nice right now, so I will hold down the Command key. And what that will do is, while you're in any of the 4 pen modes, you will open up the Direct Selection tool. Even though it's not highlighted, you can see that it's the same icon. I'm going to take this handle and I'm going to drag it out. So the next chapter, let's try what we did here with our lake shapes.